horrible.
Okay. How you been? Yeah? That's good. Are you? You.
You can.
Annette.
Department chair, so I'm an 11-month contract.
Yes. Okay, let's get the meeting started here. See, we have everyone in attendance here, I think, today, don't we? Yeah, that's the first time this year, I think, we've had everybody here at one meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order, 4:31. Welcome. Good to see all of you here in person or virtually. And I keep turning to the side here to look at my monitor here. So hi, Allison, and hi, Jonathan. Okay, the packet is in front of you, hopefully, and at this point, I'll entertain any amendments to the agenda, if anybody has any of those. Hearing none, we'll proceed to approve the minutes from the April 19th, 2021 meeting. Have you had a chance to read those? I hope.
I'll move for approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second for approval of the minutes from April? Second. All in favor of approval, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. The minutes are approved. And citizens to be heard. Are you here as a citizen to be heard, or you're involved with the project, aren't you? Okay, so we'll go on to that next. I don't see any other citizens to be heard here today, so let's move on to the main item on our agenda today, which is a public art proposal from the Arts Partnership and the Downtown Community Partnership Business Improvement District to wrap utility boxes. And there is information about the proposal that we received in advance here, and some additional information that was presented to you as you came in today, answering some of the questions that have come up as this project has been reviewed by various entities. And so today we have with us, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Chris.
Chris.
Yes.
And you're from BID?
I am, yes.
Okay, welcome to our meeting today.
Thanks.
And would you like to speak to the proposal?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how many of you have been to downtown Fargo recently within the past 2 or 3 years, but we have a project down there. We've been wrapping utility boxes, pedestrian benches, and whatnot with local artists and with their artwork. So we wanted to expand this program to West Fargo and Moorhead, just to showcase the fact that there's artists from all over the area, not just Fargo, not just downtown Fargo, and we wanted to give them the opportunity to showcase their work in other areas of the region. So that's pretty much why I'm here on this side of the river, just again to showcase artists and see if we can't get their work on the utility boxes here in Moorhead.
Great. And so you were involved in putting together the information here that we have. You've been on the team that's.
Yeah, so it's a collaborative effort between the Arts Partnership and the Downtown Community Partnership in Fargo. And again, we're just trying to highlight the good work that the artists do in the region, try to make it a seamless transition, put a catalog out there on a website, and if somebody likes what they see, they can click that piece of art. We get quotes as far as how much it's going to cost for that piece of infrastructure to be wrapped. We contact the city to make sure that that piece can be wrapped, and if everything's good to go, we say it's going to cost this much, and if they like the idea, it gets wrapped, and so it's pretty seamless. And then the three organizations are compensated, and the artist is compensated for their work. So we try to make it, it's like an online catalog of art.
And so has the art been selected already that's going to be on the boxes?
Yes, the art is already on the TAP website, and it's 50 pieces of art, and basically once that piece of art is selected and everything is good, approved, that piece of art gets grayed out. You can still see the artist and what the art was, but it can't be used in the region once again. It's only one time, so you can't inundate the area with one specific artist or piece of artwork. So it's used one time.
And so there was a committee then that selected the art. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The committee consisted of me, somebody from the DCP, somebody from TAP, and then a couple of local artists, because we wanted to get artists on the board, of course, because I don't know very much about art. I just know what I like to see. That might not always transcend to something that could look good on a piece of structure. So.
What's the age ranges that your artists were submitting from?
I think the youngest was 16, and if they were 16 years old, we had to have a parent or guardian sign the release form for them. But I believe 16 was the youngest that we'd received artwork for. Now, I can't remember if that specific piece was selected, but for a submission, I believe 16 was the youngest.
Are there any current artists renderings in your catalog that are from Minnesota or Moorhead that are currently in Fargo right now?
I'd like to say yes for certain, but I'm not sure. I can't remember where every artist is from. I know we did get submissions from from Moorhead, West Fargo, and Fargo. I just can't remember who was selected as far as where they're from. And again, if you wanted to further research that, it's on TAP's website to include the artist's name. So if you're familiar with some of those names, you could basically click on their name and it would tell you kind of a brief history on who they are and where they're from.
Sorry, maybe you said this already, but how were the artwork selected?
Sure. So we received, I wanted to say we received about 110 submissions. And then basically it was a tally system. We had a criteria of 5 benchmarks, each graded from 1 to 10, and no artist, no nothing, just the piece of artwork. And we each took our own notes and we graded each one of them. And then it was a tally. Whoever scored the highest marks, didn't matter if an artist had 3 or 4 submissions, they could have all their submissions approved. It was completely blind. I basically did all the tallies and submitted that, and that was the 50 that was selected. So. As fair as we could make it, as fair as we could make it.
And the intention is to use as many of the 50 as possible?
I'd love to use all 50 before we start the project again. Consider this a pilot project, I guess, even though we've sort of proven it works in downtown. The biggest obstacles that we're facing, and in Fargo, was as far as maintenance, because obviously we can't go out and maintain these. But what engineering said, in Fargo anyway, was they're maintaining the boxes anyway, and with graffiti, generally these boxes, they limit the amount of graffiti that are on them because people don't want to mess with the art, which is a good thing. So what I found out is within the past 3 years, I think I've cleaned 3 boxes, and 2 of them were during the protests, the riots. So people leave these boxes alone once they're wrapped, generally.
So you're saying this project hasn't stemmed over to West Fargo yet, correct?
Correct, it is not.
So what is the likeliness if this is a pilot project and West Fargo wants to get involved, City of Moorhead wants to get involved? I'm all for trying to bring more individuals from Fargo over to Moorhead, and I'm all for Moorhead. There's already individuals from Moorhead that go over to Fargo. Could there be something in the future written up that there's an equal amount of art going both directions? So that way that one side is not inundated with nothing but Fargo or nothing but West Fargo or nothing but Moorhead, that it's all equally, you know, an equal balance between all cities of mixture of arts from all three cities, since we are the FM area.
Sure. I'm sure it's possible. I don't know how transparent it would be if we're limiting the amount of, just because we went into this blind as far as not knowing who the artist was from. I think if you put parameters on it, then I think you have to start looking at, well, this artist is gonna get bumped because we need a Moorhead artist or a Fargo artist. So I think those conversations can be had. I think we just have to be careful and be as transparent as possible with that selection process.
But you do see the concern I
I
have
absolutely do,
about that.
yes. Mhm.
Were there representatives from Morehead on the arts review team, the panel?
Not this time.
So I take it the price of this thing would depend on the utility box, the size of it? And can you
Correct.
tell us what the ranges are?
Sure. So from the smallest utility box, the range is basically about $900 to, it can go all the way up to $1,300, depending on how big the box, or the bench, or the garage door. It really depends on what the person or organization that's trying to wrap, what they're trying to put it on. This project originally stemmed from, my corporate company is Block by Block, which is based out of Louisville, Kentucky. I took a conference there, and I was walking down the alleys, and they had a project like this, and they had a bunch of their doors wrapped in the alleys. And the businesses basically did this. They went to the online catalog, and they said, we want our door to look like this, businesses. So that's where the idea stemmed from. So it can be on any canvas that they're willing to pay the cost for. So that's kind of where the idea, so I don't want to limit it to utility boxes. It could be pretty much be anything that can be wrapped, that's approved, private or public.
Has it mainly been businesses? Has there been individuals that have stepped forward and said, I'll just take this and do it? Or has it been businesses stepping forward?
It's a lot of businesses. It's a lot of City of Fargo so far. We have had a few donations from individuals, and of course their information will go on the utility box wrap. But normally it's been businesses that want to see their name on the utility box as a sponsor, and then that piece of artwork showcasing the artist, of course.
In terms of how the funding works, the person requesting it would pay for the installation, or?
Yes, so the person would go on TAP's website and say, hey, I like this, and I want this to be wrapped. And so I take that information and I take it to my contractor. I say, okay, this is what they want to be wrapped. I might even make a trip out there, take pictures, just so I make sure I have a good idea of what's wanting to be wrapped. Put together the compensation for TAP bid, DCP, the artist compensation, and then the fees that are associated with the wrap project itself. And then I get that back to that individual organization, and then they can make the determination whether or not they want to go forward.
Each wrapping project sort of has to have a sponsor.
Yes.
Okay.
Has to have some sort of catalyst to make to get the project going, yes.
Kim, can you give us a little bit of information about the next steps for this project if it were to be approved today, as far as the approval through the city?
Sure. So Morehead's public art policy outlines the process where we have a smaller group of individuals that are part of the art review team, comprised of staff and some Art and Culture Commission members. And they have looked at this, then the Art and Culture Commission will review and give a recommendation, and then the City Council will be the final decision-making body. And then once they give their recommendation, we would go with that, and then the traffic signal boxes that we are proposing that are City of Morehead jurisdiction would be available to be wrapped. So therefore, once a business or a citizen would sponsor the art and the location, we would work with the organizations, the partner organizations, to get that implemented on those canvases. And of course, like Chris said, if a private person or business would like a garage door or something on their own private property, that would be, they would work directly with their organizations to do that. The city isn't involved, but if it would be on city infrastructure, like the traffic signal boxes that are included in the locations in your packet, that's really where the decision-making comes. If they're going to be placing art out of their approved catalog on one of these city infrastructure pieces, that's where this approval process comes from.
And that would actually be immediately before I got any estimates. Because if it's not, if it's a no, then there's no use in me getting an estimate. So I would reach out to the City of Morehead immediately.
So I want to make sure I understand this. So tonight, if we agree to move forward with the project, then we form a review committee from this.
Nope, you would look at all of the works of art, and
Right.
if they're appropriate for public display, they would, if you recommend approval, all of the catalog that they have would be available to be implemented as soon as, so we would be looking at all of the art. It should all be in your packet, all of the different ones that they've selected from our area artists. So we are giving a blanket approval for the City of Morehead's traffic signal boxes to be wrapped. So once we give this approval, I don't see us reviewing it again. There would be coordination among city staff and their organization to just work out details of where it's at, so we can kind of monitor how it goes and how the program is working on our end. But past that, I don't see us reviewing each individual installation or sponsorship future forward. We're looking at this as kind of a blanket approval for the entire program and their entire art catalog.
Okay.
If they go through and do a second catalog, another art selection process, then they'll need to come back. But we're really looking at, are the art pieces that they've selected appropriate for our public places? And if so, then we would recommend approval.
Well, and then I think these are basically the art that has been approved, but we're seeing on this piece of paper. Yeah. So the question I have is, how is this going to be publicized? Is it going to be the Moorhead Business Association going to be, I mean, that's, or how do citizens know that they can do this? I mean, that would be the kind of the question I have, is how do we publicize this?
So the Downtown Community Partnership is responsible for the Fargo side as far as making sure this gets out there. They would be working with the counterpart for Moorhead, and I apologize, I don't know what that organization is. Working with that organization to make sure this gets publicized and make sure it's, we saturate the area with this information. We want to obviously, provide the biggest bang, get the information out there to as many people as we can, organizations. So if you'd be able to help me, or if Kim could help me figure out what that mechanism is, that would be awesome.
Do any of these boxes, is there any acknowledgement? Can somebody have on the bottom in memory of, or in recognition of, or in honor of?
As long as you let me know what you'd like to go and get on the box, we can get that printed. That's yeah.
Larry, on the supplemental handout,
Yep.
that was one of the questions, and Chris supplied an example of what's used in downtown, where they have the artist and the name of the artwork on one side, and on the other side they had their primary sponsor, where in Fargo it was their Art and Culture Commission, and then they had a few other partner organizations, and then at the bottom, recognition of their program. So the Downtown Community Partnership, the BID, and TAP would all be noticed as that part of the program. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what that would be. And then, like Chris said, as to how the sponsorship, like if you would be, or if your business would want to be that sponsor, if you'd want to do a memorial, you know, those types of things, I think that's where some of the details that would get worked out as.
Absolutely. To your point, we can make anything work as long as it's appropriate.
Do you plan on in the future, since you're part of this commission, to be adding other members to the commission to try and choose artwork? Or is it always going to be just this initial 4?
The initial,
4 people that picked the artwork.
oh, there was more than 4 people that picked the artwork. But yes, I would like to see a lot bigger pool, a lot bigger from Moorhead and West Fargo if they choose to become a part of this program. I would love to see, you know, 10, 12 people on a committee to choose. It'd be great to see.
Because my concern is this. We, as citizens of Morehead, are the little brother to the big brother to the west of us, and even to the other brother in West Fargo. Morehead is always looked upon as being the smaller community. So my concern about getting involved with this is that we're going to be more artists coming over to the Morehead side of Fargo and West Fargo, and not enough artists from Minnesota going into North Dakota. And I think what would try and alleviate that, since it's supposed to be a blind look, is if we, a community member, others, whether it be from someone from this commission or someone from another part of the other commissions, were on the deciding factor next year for your next round of deals, then I think it'd be properly represented. It's saying there are people from Moorhead looking, even though we're not allowed to know who the individual is, I think it's a fair representation. Then it's we're not feeling like we're being dominated by Fargo, so to speak.
I completely agree. I love it. Yep, I have no problem with that at all.
Well, when you go on the website, you do see the artist names, and somebody on this commission is being very quiet because his artwork is on that page, and so it is, it is represented. I mean, so.
Any comments from the other folks on the commission?
I just, because I am part of the program before they decided to expand it, I just wanted to let you know that I'll be abstaining from the vote tonight.
Okay.
So it's not.
Gotcha.
I figured.
So is there any, you know, as far as when the artwork is selected to put on a particular location in Moorhead, you know, is there any way that we could request that it was a Moorhead artist on those pieces? Or is that, I mean, is that?
Of course. Like, you go to the TAP's website, and if you recognize an art, when you go on TAP's website, it actually has the piece of art, and then it has the artist, and you can actually click on the artist link, and it'll tell you what they do, where they're from, and whatnot on their site.
Okay.
You can absolutely pick exactly what you'd like to see. If you want a Moorhead artist or a Minnesota artist on a box in Moorhead, absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, Kim, how many boxes are we talking about in the city of Moorhead? I didn't see a number on here.
I think it's 18.
18. So what if we turn around, and to make this a little bit more fair, I think, is what if we turn around and say, as you know, a percentage of our boxes are mandated to Moorhead artists, and then the rest can try to be evenly distributed between Moorhead, or Fargo and West Fargo. I think, to me, would try to be a good complement of each other's to try and bring other artists into our state, and then vice versa, because then Fargo, and as West Fargo comes online also, they can all turn around and decide that it's not just overwhelmingly one city that's going to be more artists here. But I think if we do an even, or some sort of percentage of boxes are going to be for Moorhead or Minnesota residents, I think it would turn out to be more appealing, at least from my point of view.
I have no issue with that. I would just request that somebody from the city of Moorhead be involved in that process, and it's not me.
Well, I would say is that it is, the buyer gets to pick the artist. We're not the buyer. I mean, we're just approving this. So, I mean, if hopefully it will be expanded so that more artists will be submitting when these artworks all got bought up, that there'll be more, and if there's, but it's still the buyer's choice. So I really don't think that we can dictate that. I
But
think
if
it's just a matter of getting,
But our electrical boxes are this property of the city of Moorhead. Now, if you wanted it for your own garage door, I can understand that 100%, but I think we're talking specifically electrical boxes, which are property of the city of Moorhead. Am I correct?
Right. I guess I would just want to ask for clarification if that is something that you want to pursue, because we are a metro community. There are people or artists who live in one city and have their artist studio in another city. So is it where they live, where they make their art? If they live outside of the city boundaries, do we draw a firm line there, or are they just all Minnesota artists? There become so many little details if we start making caveats, and I would want some clarification if that's an avenue you would all like to pursue.
So the utility boxes and the private property are two separate issues, right? So if a private individual wanted to have a piece of work on their property, whether it was a door or a garage or wherever, then that would be that they would have to pay the artist, and they could select or pay the fees and install, and then they could choose the work of art that they wanted to have there, right? Okay, so the pieces that are going to be on the utility boxes, how are those chosen? Like each individual one?
Sponsor would reach out, a business and an organization would reach out on the website.
Okay.
And then once they selected it, I would go to the city of Moorhead and say, this organization would like this at this box.
Okay.
How say you?
All right, so it's not necessarily a box that's on your business's property or even adjacent to your business.
Could be anywhere they wanted
it. Could
it.
be any of these
Correct.
these boxes that have been selected for installations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I think I'm clear on all of that.
And again, the funding is coming from a business or individual or organization. It's not, there hasn't been funds allocated from the city council to install on the electrical boxes. Okay.
And I do like what you're saying about, you know, if this is a community-wide project that's going to include artists and sponsors from all of the 3 communities in our city, you know, then yes, once we start trying to decide, well, whose art goes on which box in which city, and I don't want my art on that box, or I want to make sure that I get my art on this one, that would be increasingly difficult. So if there's one entity that's willing to manage it, you know, as long as, you know, we have some representation from Moorhead artists and even Moorhead artists who are willing to serve on the review panel in the future, I think that's reasonable. Are there any other comments from anyone else here today? Or questions for Chris?
Well, I certainly appreciate your time, and
I'm sorry, did somebody try to speak there? I thought I heard a sound. No? Okay. Chris,
yes.
thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Chris before we put this to a vote?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to move forward with this project?
I'll move it
Larry,
for it. Yeah.
is there a second?
Second.
Allison?
Going with the motion that's in the packet.
That's correct. Which would be on page, what is it?
4. Just says to
4,
recommend
yes.
approval of the proposal to wrap traffic signal utility boxes with art to Morehead City Council.
Yes. Is there any further discussion?
questions I had.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
thought this was 100% going to be coming out of city or our budget of some sort. So now that I understand it, it's a sponsor that's actually paying for it all. I don't see a reason why we can't move forward.
Right, and I think it's great that we are at least one of the entities that's involved in the process. You know, when we're talking about public art, you know, it's really good that we're all sort of on the same page with that. That we at least have a voice in the process, and you know, frankly, I think there should be more of that kind of collaboration between the cities, you know, than there is already. So. All in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
And opposed, the same sign. The motion is carried and it's approved. Okay. Member updates and reports is next. Any updates here as we head into the end of the school year and the beginning of the summer? I don't have anything myself either, except the Creative Moorhead. I did get a message this morning that the response to the call for art that the Creative Moorhead group has put out has been overwhelming. So that's great. So we're in the process now of going through all of the proposals and selecting which ones might be involved in that. So, yeah, 100 applicants.
I was right. They were waiting. They were waiting to get their art out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Anything? Anyone else?
When's our next meeting?
Do we meet in June?
Yes, because we will have the responses for the call for arts that we had for the Davie Memorial sculpture that we reviewed last week, or
Right.
last month.
Can you give us an update on that? Has there been any response?
I haven't checked the submittals, but I haven't received any emails yet. So if they've gone through the website, I haven't checked because I have to go through quite a few steps to mine that out, and I forgot to check. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. We'll find out by next month. So it would be what is the date next month meeting?
June 21.
June 21, and the summer solstice.
Yay.
Right.
All right.
Well, given that this event is that same week, I'll just mention that Post-Traumatic Funk Syndrome is doing a post-corona funk concert at TAC in Moorhead on the 24th of June.
All right.
So if anyone's interested in that, you can plan for it.
Outdoor, if possible.
It'll be inside.
Indoor?
Yeah,
Okay.
back there. Yeah.
So since we're meeting in the MCOMs, we should say happy setting to my.
Indeed. Okay, any further reports or updates here today? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting, 5:02 p.m. Thank you.